Hello, my lovely people. My name is Kate, and I'm a hypnotherapist. And today we are talking about a fear that a lot of women and girls and young girls, right, are experiencing is fear of childbirth, tocophobia, right? Fear of having kids, fear of pregnancy, and everything associated with motherhood, right? So the fear is very important because it keeps people from understanding whether it is a real child-free desire, right? Like the desire to be child-free, or is it actually a fear that is keeping you stuck? And I'm gonna tell you how to differentiate those two very easily. You'll be able to understand whether you actually want to be child-free or whether there is a lot of fears that are keeping you from experiencing pregnancy and being happy in life, right? So first of all, is true child-free people, they usually have some distinct, differentiations, right? So one of them is they are indifferent. Child-free people are indifferent to other people's ideas or opinions. They are so confident in what they want for themselves that they really don't even think about questioning, their child-free status. So they usually don't, talk to everyone about that. They don't bring up the topic of child-free life, right? They just live their life. They're very confident. Another point is they never change their mind. For example, if they have decided when they're 20 or 18 or 25 that they will be child-free. When you're true child-free, right, you will not change your mind every single day or every single month or every single year, right? So you will be very confident in what you want and you stick to that lifestyle. If your mind changes all the time, like today you want to have kids, maybe, and then the other months you're like, no, I don't need that. The other months you're like, oh, maybe I should have a baby, So that's not true child-free, right? So that means that you want, deep inside, you want to have a baby, you want to be a mother, but you just have those fears, those blocks, mental blocks, limiting beliefs, that are keeping you from doing that. Another one, the other differentiation is that true people who are true child-free, they usually don't find excuses. They don't talk about it, right? They don't, protect their point of view. They don't need to do that. They're very, very, they might even ignore people who will tell them, oh, you should have, or why you don't have kids, They are very calm, very relaxed because it's their true desire not to have kids. And this percentage is very small, like super small. I'm not even sure if it's not less than 5% of all the people who are experiencing any fear or doubt in themselves and don't want to have kids. Only 5%, according to the research, are really people who truly don't want to have kids. And it's only not from the whole population of people, from women, right? But from only that amount of people who decided not to have kids, but still don't know the reason, right? So sometimes people get really hard on women and girls and young women who decided not to have kids, or they just have fears, Usually you will hear these hurtful phrases like, oh, it's all in your mind, just calm down, or you have to do that. You'll have to do it anyway. Everyone does that, so you'll have to do that, right? Another one is like, oh, you should be doing it right now because then you will regret. You'll regret your decision, right? That creates more pressure and more stress on the person, and they become in a more deeper inner conflict. It's usually the best approach to those people is just supporting them, and helping them find the reason, for that fear. And if they find the root cause of the fear of childbirth, right, tocophobia, they will be able to overcome it. There is no magic pill. There is an exposure therapy, of course, which you can just get pregnant and go through it, which helps, but not everyone is that brave enough, to do that and expose themselves to the experience before they actually realize what's happening in their mind. So let's talk about the fears. Because fear of childbirth is just a symptom. Underneath, there are so many layers, so many other fears. And I'm going to name them, and you just try to resonate, what resonates better with you. Maybe you'll have a couple of them, maybe you'll have all of them, or maybe it's just one single block, right? So first and the biggest one for any woman is the body changes, right? The physical body changes that any woman will undergo when they have kids, right? Or they're pregnant. So people are really concerned about how they will look like after the pregnancy. And they also are afraid that they will not be loved anymore. They will not be accepted, that people will notice that they are not, perfect, So if sometimes people are very happy with their body. They're like, oh my God, I've invested so much money, time, persistence, discipline into this body. And now who knows what's going to happen with me when I'm going to be pregnant. So this fear is really serious, and it's just the time that you need to really, really overcome that fear. It is also an artificial fear. It's not a real fear, just imposed on you from the social media and from the community. Social isolation. A lot of people will be afraid of social isolation. I'm going to be with my baby. I'm going to lose friends. I'm going to lose status. I'm going to lose importance, right? All of my friends still don't have kids, and I kind of want to, but they will not be my friends. So this fear of isolation, of loneliness, that I'm just going to be by myself, right? Can also be an underlying fear of tocophobia, right? Fear of the lifestyle change is the same, right? So technically it's people who are partying a lot, right? Who are, having a very social life. They feel like having a kid will just destroy it all. And they will need to not do it anymore. They won't be able to do that anymore. People who want to travel, who travel a lot, right? They also are afraid that, oh, it's just done. It's done. My whole freedom is done. A lot of fears are coming from the family programs. So how we see our parents raised us. Sometimes our childhood can be very traumatic. So that we are afraid to bring a child into this world. That's more to the fear of raising a kid, right? I'm afraid that I won't be able to do that. So another fear is fear of pain, right? So if it's a fear of pregnancy, fear of childbirth, it can be an underlying fear of pain. I'm afraid of it. I don't know if I can tolerate pain. So very, very legit fear. However, right, also it keeps you stuck, and it keeps you overthinking. It keeps you in anxiety, right? Sometimes even panic and overthinking and intrusive thoughts and conflicts, right, with your partner. If, for example, your partner wants a child, right, and you are still afraid, fear of pain can be a real block, let's just say. Sometimes women who have become, who are older sisters, and they had to look after their siblings, they decide that they will not have a kid because it's so hard. When you're 12 or you're 9 or you're 8 or even 6, when you are your parents make you look after your siblings. You don't want to do that, but you don't have any other choice. You have this learned helplessness, right? I'm made to do something that I don't want to. So they form the belief like, oh, having a kid is so hard. I really don't want that for myself. Can be a big block, has to be worked through. You cannot run away from those feelings, that you experienced when you were a child. So you need to regress yourself. You need to go back there and, resolve that conflict. Another one is fear of losing a partner, right? Fear of losing a partner is a big one. So sometimes when we feel like if I have a child, then my husband will not love me anymore that much because I will have to share him. What if he loves my baby, our baby, more than me? So these questions are big, they are intrusive questions, right? So, this fear can keep you as well away from having a baby, from getting pregnant. Fear of pregnancy complications, right? So fear of pregnancy complications are big, especially with everything we hear from our friends, family, how our mom was pregnant with us, right? So we hear all of these stories. We don't usually our mind will lock onto negative things. This is just how our mind works. So it will always lock onto negative. So whenever you heard a negative experience, you will feel like you connect to that experience. Like your subconscious mind will lock onto that. And, you're like, oh, this is like it can be with me. This is what's going to happen to me. This is a big chance that it's going to happen to me. Fear of infections, right? Fear of dying during childbirth, right? If you have a fear of dying, that you shouldn't work on the fear of childbirth. You should be working on the fear of dying. And I have a video about fear of dying, so watch it, please, in my videos, because this is a big fear that it causes so many other phobias. And once you work through that one, all the others will unfold. All your phobias, because you can't have just one phobia. No, you usually have more than one. Fear of expenses, so financial, right, burden that the child can bring. I will not be able to work at the same job. I will have to adjust my hours. I will not be able to hold my position anymore. I will not be able to raise the kid, to be responsible financially for this kid, because I'm not even sure I can be responsible for myself. Another big fear, underlying fear of tocophobia, is fear of responsibility, right? We feel like, oh, I have to be responsible for this child, for another human being. I don't want that. I love my freedom, I love that I'm only responsible for myself, right? So it's up to you, of course, with this fear, but it's possible to work through this fear as well. Fear of responsibility, often, I would say in almost every case, goes from the childhood. All of these beliefs, most of them come in from the childhood. They are just symptoms. So also health anxiety, right? So complications, infections, being sick, not liking breastfeeding, right? As well, because it feels, some women even say that it looks disgusting, right, to them. And that's also the belief. It's a very natural process. So why are you disgusted of it? If you're disgusted, then it means that there is some belief. There is some belief that someone told you, someone showed you, or you formed it, usually way earlier in your life. So what happens when you form these beliefs? I don't want to die. I don't want to get an infection. Kids are too much responsibility. I don't want to get fat. I don't want to, lose my friends. I don't want to lose status. I don't want to lose my partner, and all of those fears, right? What is happening then? You formed your belief, and it's in your subconscious mind. However, deep inside, you want to have a baby. So what happens then? It happens the inner conflict. One, I want to have a baby. And the other one, all of these beliefs that are keeping you stuck. So you have a conflicting belief. Really, it's very important. You have a conflicting belief. And when you have in your mind a conflicting belief, your mind cannot hold it. It will cancel both. So you will not get any of those, right? Like you will be always in this inner turmoil, right? Like inner questioning, self-doubt, right? And it's not going to leave. It's not going to stop at some point unless you work through all of these fears that you're having regarding childbirth, regarding pregnancy and having and raising a kid. So how to feel like if you're ready to work through these fears and actually have a child, or you're not. So you have a couple of options. One option is you just get pregnant, just go with it. The 5-second rule, Mel Robbins, I think she's talking about that rule, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and done. And you go and you make a baby and see how it goes, right? However, the consequences, right, is you might be in fear, you might be in anxiety, you might be in worry, in panic, and it definitely doesn't affect the baby very well, It impacts your baby's health. Another option that you have is doing some kind of a mindfulness, right? So close your eyes. Imagine you are 60 and 70 or 70 years old, right? How do you feel without kids, without children? How do you feel? Because if you don't resolve the fears, then you'll always be afraid of childbirth, right? It's not going to go away. So imagine yourself like you're 60 or 70 and you don't have children. How do you feel? How do you feel? Do you feel happy? Do you feel like this is what you wanted, If yes, great, go ahead with it. If no, then it's time to work with your fears and this fear. And sometimes people think that they are going to be with this fear for their whole life. That's not true. Please don't listen to your friends, parents, or doctors, nurses who tell you that you cannot overcome this fear, because you can. And it's easy. You just have to find the root, the cause of where did you form those beliefs. And that way it's going to be, much easier for you. And you don't want to live with fears. No one wants. So work on yourself and find out if you really want to have kids or you actually don't want to have kids, and that will make your life so much easier. And if you need my help, my contact information, I'm doing online sessions and in-person sessions in Calgary, Canada, on different phobias, and I'm an RTT hypnotherapist. Hypnosis is very effective with different kind of fears and phobias.